Welcome in our college football playoff selection show. We're just moments away from the college football playoff final rankings revealed. And we're here to preview, react, and then do some game breakdowns. And I got news for you. There's just 137 days until the NFL draft. So, Muench, you got to tell me, man, are you good?
I'm excited, man.
All right, roll that thing, Tucker. Spent a lot of time thinking about this last night, Muench.
Me too. I'm excited to have a good conversation about this.
Right. A real selection show. And we appreciate everyone who's on the chat. People are jumping in. We got polls already up. Which team has the best playoff resume? Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami. That's going to be a big discussion today. And we will get to that in moments. And it's all going to happen fast. Here's how this show is going to work. By the way, the McShay report is out. Breaking down the NFL draft prospects for both Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, talking about Mendoza and that Heisman moment and the Heisman game that he had last night and the upset victory of Ohio State. We talk about Ty Simpson and needing to come back to school. We talk about Georgia and the job Kirby Smart has done and gave you the TMS top 12. We'll see if that has changed at all overnight with a good night's sleep. So Google the McShay report and subscribe and be a part of it, because we'll carry you through the college football playoff, and then we get really kicked off with the NFL draft, right? We're excited. We had two shows yesterday, and then this selection show today. First time ever doing this, and I am pumped. But I want to start off on a negative, because as the more I slept on it and thought about it this morning, the more pissed off I am. Here's why, Steve. Here we go. What's wrong with us? Why do we, and I say we and us, talking about the college football community, and I've been a part of it. You've been a part of it for 20 plus years. I've been to college games on the sideline, interacted with fans, with commissioners, with head coaches, with everyone involved at the highest level of college football. I have a very tiny role in all of this, as you do, Steve. But why is it that we're always reacting? Why is it there's no vision in this sport sometimes? And it's frustrating. Why is it that it has to get so mangled for us to make change? I understand that sometimes, issues and turmoil and problems affect change. But why is there not a commissioner of the sport? Why is there not a governing body that actually looks over this sport and has vision to what the problems could be, instead of us always be like, well, we'll get them next year? And last year, honestly, the seeding was the major problem. There was also a secondary problem where it felt like the committee was looking too much at wins and losses and was stuck on that, versus the 12 best teams, or at least the 7 best at-large teams. But then all of a sudden, and we fixed the seeding, right? And they had meetings in March about emphasis, and I've seen some, and it's not perfect, and we'll see how the final rankings reveal plays out, and how this year's version of the committee did, the 13 members. But now we're looking at this, and it's like, how did we not see this as a potential pitfall? And what I'm talking about is, all of a sudden, the ACC just flopped. The ACC fell apart this year. It was supposed to be a great year for Clemson. Maybe Florida State's back. Miami's gonna reload. And Miami's the only one that's done anything that's like, well, maybe they deserve to be in. And we'll have that discussion. But we now have a conference champion in the ACC that's Duke, with 5 losses. They ain't getting in. They shouldn't get in, and they're not getting in. That's not the problem. The problem is, how did we not foresee this? Because you know what's going to happen? I'm told by folks that know what they're talking about, around 12:15, 12:20, the actual rankings will be revealed, okay? So that gives us about 9 to 14 minutes to go through this preview. And I don't want to take up a ton of time, but it's going to be an off-season emphasis that we're going to help try to push. The bar has to be set higher for the group of 5, first of all. It should be a magical year, a la Boise State. You could say even a year ago, but absolutely Boise State the year with they upset Oklahoma, right?
Right.
It's got to be a special year. So whether that bar is set as they have to be ranked in the top 12 or even the top 15 to get one of those automatic bids, we currently give out 5 automatic bids. SEC, and it's the conference champions that are highest.
Right. This is what trips you up, right?
This is what trips you up. It's the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and it should be the ACC. Everyone just assumed.
Right.
Clemson's going to be a top 5, top 7 team, or Miami will be, or Florida State will be. And it hasn't happened. So why didn't we have the foresight? What if a conference just implodes during a given year? Shouldn't that then signal that we open up an at-large bid? Why in the hell are we now giving out 2 automatic bids to Tulane and JMU? So I have 2 problems with this group of 5 situation. This is the projected field as far as we see it. And we'll see how it plays out in just a handful of minutes. Indiana won the Big 10, automatic bid. Georgia wins the SEC, automatic bid. Texas Tech wins the Big 12, automatic bid. The ACC champion is a 5-loss Duke team, no automatic bid. So now this language is in there that it goes to the another group of 5, the highest ranked conference championship winner. And essentially, it's supposed to be the 4 top ranked conference championship winners, and then the group of 5 has their spot. And really, it's the 5. What technically the language is the 5, right? The 5 highest ranked conference champions. How did we not foresee this as a potential problem? There's a lack of foresight. So the first problem I have is it should not be an automatic that the 5th best the 5th highest ranked conference champion gets in. It should be a group, and I'm not the legal terms, but it should be something along the lines, if a 5th conference champion happens to be ranked in the top 12 or the top 15, they earn a right to play in the college football playoff. This year, that would not earn Tulane the right. And then the second part of my complaint, and it's legitimate, and I think that there will be change because this can't ever happen again where we have Tulane and JMU playing and Texas and Miami sitting at home if that's how it plays out. It would be double digit. If we ask FanDuel right now, it would be 14, 17-point favorites. What are we doing? It's bad for the product. It's bad for college football. It's bad for television. It's bad for revenue. It's bad for everyone involved except the folks at JMU and Tulane. And I'm not like John Sumrall. We talked to Urban Meyer the other day, and I went on his show, Triple Option. He's infatuated with John Sumrall. They will be unbelievably well coached. And you know my obsession with Bob Chesney. I've been telling you, Bob Chesney's going to rise fast. He's rising faster than even I thought. Now we've got the head coach at Florida coaching at Tulane and the head coach at, at UCLA coaching, being able to coach out the process at JMU. They'll be wonderfully coached teams. They just don't have the personnel. They don't belong in a college football playoff that should have the 12 best teams. If you have a magical year like a Boise State when they go undefeated and they've beaten a group of
an Oregon team.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's my complaint. We have to have change. And for the love of God, and it's going to take Congress, can we get a commissioner and a governing body to have some foresight for this beautiful multi-billion-dollar sport? Because I'm looking at Tulane right now, the 77th strength of schedule, 19th strength of record, all like so far off of the beaten path with what we're talking about with the Texases and Miamis and Alabamas and Notre Dames when we're having those competitions. JMU, 123rd strength of schedule in college football. There's only like 131 teams or whatever it is. And the 18th strength of record. Tulane lost 45-10 to Ole Miss. And by the way, we might be a handful of minutes away from seeing they're going to have a rematch. What are we doing? What is wrong with the sport? And JMU only played one Power Four school It was Louisville, and they lost by 14.
Yep.
Louisville's an 8-4 team. Go ahead.
Can I agree with you and say that you're 100% right about how the playoff committee needs to protect the product and the playoffs, but say also that maybe your anger is a little misdirected this year? ACC, what are we doing? You had a 5-team tie, and somehow the 5-loss Duke team wins that tiebreaker according to your rules, which I don't even understand. Why not just have the tiebreaker be your overall record, and then you have Miami playing Virginia last night? Like, how does Duke get into that game when there's a 5-way tie for second? The ACC did this to themselves. You're right. You're right. Big picture. The playoff committee has to protect the product. They have to figure out a way to make sure this doesn't happen again. But the ACC is a joke right now. I mean, this has been as mismanaged as it could possibly be mismanaged.
Yes, I completely agree, and we can have anger towards all of these areas.
Plenty of anger to go around.
Before we start getting the college football, the selection committee, the college football playoffs reveal, I do want to get to this because we spent a lot of time on this last night and overnight and this morning in fine tuning. This is the important part, and it's a perfect transition from this argument that Tulane and JMU, while I love their coaches, and you and I were small school guys in college, we get it. It's magical, and it's awesome for all these people, and I'm not trying to piss on the parade. I'm really not. But it should take something special, it's exceptional to break into this college football playoff top 12, okay? And now I want to roll out, Tucker, the our CFP, the TMS top 12, okay? We do this every night on the Saturday Scoreboard Show. This is what we came up with. And why is this important? I'll read it for those of you who aren't able to watch, who are driving in your car or listening to your AirPods. Indiana won, obviously 13-0 after beating Ohio State. Georgia 2, SEC champion. Ohio State only bumps down from 1 to 3. Texas Tech at 4. We then have non-conference winners in Oregon at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Texas A&M at 7, all one-loss teams. Then we get into the 2-loss teams with Oklahoma and Notre Dame. This is TMS top 12. This is Muench and I.
Right.
Conferring and going back and forth and having to make some concessions. But quite honestly, we really didn't have many concessions here, if any. But Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9. Then we had Alabama with 3 losses at 10. Texas with 3 losses at 11. That's going to frustrate some people, especially in South Florida. And then Miami at 10-2. So, and we can get into that discussion when the rankings are revealed, because there's a lot of talk about, should Miami be in? Should Miami be in over Notre Dame with a head-to-head win? Should Alabama even be in after that really lopsided, uninspiring loss in the SEC championship game? And I have some more ammunition to discuss that. But the point in all of this is, without a season in which a Tulane or a JMU went undefeated and beat a power, like if Tulane had beaten Ole Miss, or even a Louisville type, or if JMU beat Louisville, then I'd be like, you know what? They earned it. Boise State beat Oregon. They earned it. Special year. So be mad at the committee. I get it. Because every fan base is enveloped in this and has passion, and it's why this game and this sport is amazing. But the system is more at fault. It's kind of like getting mad at a referee in a game when you're watching on a Saturday or Sunday, right? And it's no catch because he made a perfect catch 1 or 2 feet in college or NFL respectively, and you he has possession. Why is it that it matters a second and a half later that he was rolling on the ground and the ball came? Don't get mad at the referee. The referee is simply, okay? And there's 700 people, almost 800 people now in the chat. This is like what we're doing and growing. It almost brings me to tears, and I can't thank you enough for the support.
That's awesome.
But there's too much to get to get all soft and mushy right now. But don't get mad at the referee for calling it an incomplete pass. He's just doing his job based off the rules. So, yeah, get mad at the committee if you want, but also get mad at the sport and the meetings that go on in the offseason. Start your complaints now, folks. for
Yes.
next year so this doesn't happen again.
It's your
And
classic don't hate the player, hate the game, man. It's the classic
Sure.
don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yes.
And so change the game. They did a good job with the seeding last year. And
But
this is new. And I want to stay optimistic that they will make positive changes because, again, I'm surprised the seeding got changed as quickly as it did.
but we shouldn't be. We should expect more from this multi-billion-dollar sport that we all love. And we're watching
we should
13,
demand more. You're
13
right.
like really successful people and smart people sitting in a room in the college football playoff committee.
Yeah, figure it out.
Decorated human beings who have done great things in their life. They're smart people. But
you and I grew up with the NCAA moving at a snail's pace in terms of change.
So yes, you are correct in that regard, and I do appreciate that if a problem arises, they quickly fix it, but for next year.
Right.
So my point is, when you look at our TMS top 12, because there wasn't a Boise State undefeated beat Oregon, and even with an ACC collapse like we saw, we now could have matchups of Texas versus it would be Miami versus Oregon in round 1.
Yep.
Texas versus Ole Miss. Are you kidding me?
I know. I hear you, man.
How phenomenal would that be for this sport, man? And yes, Jeremy Godden, you're right. If you're in this chat and it's growing like wildfire, just hit the like button. Mention I have barely slept in the last 48 hours. We've been grinding to try to give you all this content. Hit a like for us. But Texas and Miami would be in. This would be our top 12. It would be unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It would be, oh my God. It would be.
Then we wouldn't have to speculate. Is Miami better than Alabama or Notre Dame? And they had to head, but the 2 losses to 4 losses. We wouldn't have to do any of that. We would just have the best 12 teams in the college football playoff. And we wouldn't have Tulane versus Ole Miss or JMU versus Ole Miss or Oregon. We wouldn't have Oregon and Ole Miss going up against Tulane and JMU and whatever matchup it winds up being.
You're right.
Sorry, I had to take a sip to reset.
I didn't expect you to come in so hot. I like it.
I know, but it kept building. I thought about it a little bit overnight. I got a decent night's sleep, 5 hours, slept well. Got up this morning, had a great coffee.
Is that a decent night's sleep for you, by the way?
Well, 5 like solid hours with maybe a dream or 2 in there with REM is better than like 7.5 hours where it's up and down and
yeah.
So it felt like a good 5 hours of sleep. But as I drank my coffee and I started coming to this morning, it was done. Like, why are we so mad? Miami's, you know what? The folks in Miami are right. They deserve to be in a college football playoff because their season started to fall apart. That. But Cristobal did something he's never done before. He grabbed the reins and he got this program back on track in November. And Texas has done some things that nobody else in the top 10 has done, with beating 3 top 10 teams at the time and 2 current top 10 teams. They both deserve to be in a college football playoff. And I promise you, there isn't a sane person in the United States of America or beyond that believes, if we are truly trying to get the best 12 teams in, that JMU and or Tulane should be in over Texas and or Miami. Period. So I ask the question again, what are we doing?
Would you go so far as to just make it a Power 4 tournament?
A what?
Just
no. I think there should be a window of opportunity.
Okay,
that's a great question. There should be a window of opportunity from a program that has one of those special years, but maybe it's once every 2, 3, 4 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think I hear you.
But there's a lot of politics and a lot of.
We still have a team like Vanderbilt on the outside looking in, and without, if you just look at our top 12 right now, you still have Vanderbilt on the outside looking in, and that's a team that I think has had a playoff year. I mean, it is giving up 2 spots to those teams is tough. And again, the ACC blew this. But that being said, let's try to get the 12 best teams in. Let's really try to do that. Let's not, let's not have it's, we're going to have this non-power four team come in every year and as I don't know, some kind of reward. And then and we'll see what happens, but most likely get blasted in the first round. Just get, killed. Because they're not.
If we get to a 16 team playoff, which we will be soon, then yeah. Because there's always you tell me in a 16 team playoff that Tulane gets in, but that also gets us.
Yes.
Texas and Miami and maybe a Vanderbilt, you know what I mean? So
maybe a USC. Yes.
So we're good. 16, that's fine. And I understand this happens with any playoff and bracket and the NCAA kept expanding and all that. I understand that. But there's a reality to this, and the reality is that Tulane and JMU are not two of the top 12 teams in the country, and it's an absolute sham and shame that they will not be playing in the college football playoff because you know what? They're capable of winning a game or two. Shoot, right. They're capable of winning 3.
Making a run.
They're capable of making a run. And I know that Tulane and JMU are not. Here we are. I'm watching right now, just keeping an eye on the rankings, and we're at that point. And I'm fired up, and I hope everyone in the chat is. And shout out to ATB and Godin and all the gang. They've been here. I mean, they're Matt Mateus. They've been grinding just as hard as we have. So this is the payoff. That's the projected field according to what we understand. Okay. Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, JMU, and Tulane are likely to be the automatic bids. And then the at-large bids, Ohio State, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and then it gets really interesting with Notre Dame and Alabama. Here they go. Is everyone dialed in? They're revealing it right now. Indiana, obviously. I mean, they're going to go through the obvious first. You got to build drama in television.
Yep.
Indiana, they're covering Indiana and the great win last night. But we are revealing right now, folks, okay? How about Mendoza last night?
Unbelievable.
I can't wait to watch it.
So cool.
I'm going to grab lunch.
Did you watch the interview? Did you watch the interview? It's so good.
I'm not there yet, but I do love how comfortable he is in his skin. And if you're going to be a nerd and you're going to be wild, just be authentically you. That's all I've ever asked. And
right.
So I'm starting to become all in on this young man. I really am.
It was awesome.
Ohio State now. Oh, that's a surprise.
Yeah,
First
that
surprise.
Is a surprise.
Ohio State is the number 2 seed. And you say, well, why is that important? Could have been 3. For the seeding creates brackets. And so they should theoretically wind up in an easier bracket than Georgia. That's interesting, man. You know what that tells me? The amount of respect put on that Indiana name right now.
Also, that the committee watched that game last night and said these are the 2 best teams in the country. They felt like, let's see this game again. We'd like to see this matchup again.
And I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily disagree.
Right.
Truly, watching them, this is 1 versus 2. And yeah, the offensive, but it's not the offense is failing as much as these defenses are just smothering. So that's fascinating. So that's a mix up, slight mix up. So it will be OSU 2, and I'm just jotting this down so we can stay on top of it. And Tucker, by the way, folks, Tucker and Dan, Tashjian, Dan Comer, behind the scenes have been grinding all night. I got to get 5 hours sleep because Dan didn't sleep last night, getting out the McShay report. Tucker's been building graphics round the clock. And they're literally plugging in stuff right now so that we're following along with the show. And once we get all the reveal out, we're going to be able to show you the college football playoff final top 12. We'll show you the automatic bids and the at-large bids. We'll also be able to show you the brackets, and then mention I will spend some time breaking down those games. But with Ohio State at 2, then as expected, Georgia is at 3.
Right.
Okay. So I would have to suspect Texas Tech now is going to be number 4.
I would be stunned. Yeah. I've made an argument for Oregon after thinking about it overnight. It's Tech. I would be stunned if it wasn't.
Okay.
It should be Tech.
So those are the top 4 seeds. Indiana 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4. And with that, all four of those seeds, unlike a year ago where it would have been the college football playoff top conference champions. I want you to understand this. That system was so messed up last year that it would have been Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, and Tulane would have gotten a bye.
Yeah.
So at least we've seen progress, but my goodness, as I said on the top, can we have some vision? So those are the top four. They all get a bye. We'll see them in the quarterfinals. Give me the dates. I know January 19th is the national championship. I know December 19th and 20th, the first round. Okay, here we go. But when is that? When is the quarterfinal and semifinal game? So we can
quarterfinals are December 31st and January 1st, and the semifinals are January 8th and January 9th.
Okay. So Oregon is number 5. No surprise there.
This is where it gets interesting, though, right?
Yes, because you got Ole Miss.
Right.
It's kind of a cluster with Ole Miss and A&M. And then I would think Oklahoma is definitively before that.
Does Ole Miss get dinged for the Kiffin situation is what I think this comes down to.
Yes, I agree. So Oregon is 11-1 team with their one blemish being, don't forget, Indiana, the number 1 team in the country. That loss all of a sudden is like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Understood. So you got, and
no.
I know.
Or do you have it? Yeah, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss number 6.
Good for the committee.
Yep, agreed. And I don't know, do you think Charlie Weiss Jr. coming back to coach the offense?
I think it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Man.
I'm not sure it helped, but I know it doesn't hurt.
That's a big deal. The difference between the 6 and 7 seeds are a big deal, man.
How so?
Well, you're getting Tulane or JMU at 5 and 6, right?
Yeah, I knew the answer.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to share the answer.
I was like, what about? It was so simple. I was like, am I missing something?
It's a huge difference.
Yeah,
huge versus getting potentially a Notre Dame or an Alabama, bud.
Yeah,
it's a massive, massive difference. Ole Miss and Oregon are in the pole position. And guess what? Remember last year? It almost played to the benefit of teams being able to play in that first week, so you didn't have 3 weeks off.
I think that's
so now
something
you
to
get
watch.
a little bit of a warm-up game. They're in that
something to watch.
Sweet spot. Oregon and Ole Miss, especially Ole Miss, getting with the new coaching staff, getting I don't want to say a glorified scrimmage, but getting an opportunity to go work through the mechanics of the game without Lane Kiffin there. That's honestly, I don't know that Ole Miss could be in a better spot.
I agree.
I mean, maybe 5 could be, but you're playing Tulane versus, and they.
All right, now it gets.
Okay, so Texas A&M, Oklahoma's in at wait, Oklahoma was 7?
8. A&M was 7.
Okay, sorry. All right, so the check on those two.
Now this is where we're going to find out what the committee's really thinking.
Yep. This is it, guys. Is everyone ready? You ready in there? That chat, my gosh. I love what's going on in the chat. You got it's the McShay Show Mafia, or whatever you want to call it.
On Sunday morning before an NFL game.
I mean, it's amazing. Awesome. It's as good as just
people are getting ready for
Saturday
fantasy playoff runs.
Yeah, putting in their FanDuel bets for the big day on Sunday. Here we go. Resume comparison. You got Alabama, Notre Dame, Miami. 10-3 Alabama, but in a conference game loss. 10-2 for Notre Dame and Miami respectively. FPI is 8th for Alabama, the worst of the 3. 3rd and 7th for Notre Dame and Miami respectively. We obviously have the head-to-head, and I want to remind people in Alabama. And here's what I think it was. I spent a lot of time talking to people via text overnight. They're the only team in the top 10 in all 3 of these: FPI, strength of schedule, and strength of record. Okay. And when I say of the top of those 3, the 3 in this cluster are Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami. They also, this is something I knew there were some injuries. They had 10 players who contribute that were out of the SEC championship game last night.
Yep.
And that was factored into this decision. I was told that this morning when I got up, to keep that in mind. 10 players, someone who was there, part of like all of this, they know. So I was told you got to factor in 10 players didn't play in that game, which quite honestly was told to Alabama. It as far as the college football playoff game, it was irrelevant. Remember, they had a 97% chance to get it.
Yeah.
So now it comes down to Notre Dame and hey, by the way, this is critical. I didn't even think of this. The committee has said all along through Heather Dinich, if now all of a sudden they're sitting back to back, and I thought it was going to be Notre Dame at 9, because then there would be a gap between them. Now you're looking at the same if you're going to go consecutive at 10 and 11 in the rankings, because Alabama comes in at 9, and you don't go Miami over Notre Dame, it's going to incite like riots head to head. I'm not saying the Miami folks are right. I'm not promoting riots either. I'm just
Miami.
Oh! I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned. Why don't you look stunned?
Because I'm not. I think there was we'll get into this, and there's more of a nuanced conversation to have. I really do think Miami's a playoff team. I think they're a good team. This was I think they crumbled under the pressure of a head-to-head movement in the national media. The head-to-head is getting overplayed here, and so I'm not stunned. Miami's a really good team, man. A really good team. I think the committee got it wrong. That should be Notre Dame.
Like, what would be?
But I'm not stunned because I
write down that graphic for us, Dan and Tucker, so we can 7, 3, 14, 13. Yeah, I mean, they had almost identical. That's the whole thing. 6, 5, 45, 44. But the strength of record, Miami. Sorry, I'm writing this down as we go because I want to have this discussion afterwards. This is wild to me. I did not foresee this happening. Hey, the poll is up. Who you got, Miami versus Notre Dame? And it was a good poll before we got the answer, but it's actually more intriguing to me now that we have the answer. Basically who you got, Miami, Notre Dame? Did the committee get it right or did the committee get it wrong? Miami, 66%. Oh, this is devastating for Notre Dame. It takes onions from this committee to keep Notre Dame out with the TV backing, the national and international audience. So I do give the committee credit here. As a competitor and a former athlete, I don't think like jogging and going to the gym and playing some recreational sports constitutes me still being an athlete. There are very few things more sacred than head-to-head competition, right?
Yeah.
So I give them credit in that. I'm not saying they got it right. I'm just saying if you put yourself in their shoes, I give them credit for recognizing that. I also give them credit for leaving out Notre Dame. But why couldn't we have like an injunction overnight? Why couldn't there be some kind of bylaws and let JMU sue the College Football Playoff Committee where Notre Dame's in? Like, I know it's irrational. I know, why couldn't like Congress step in the 11th hour, like a government shutdown type situation on West Wing?
Yeah.
Oh, Tulane lost to Ole Miss 45-10 this season, Steve. And
there
we
go.
now have a rematch. And I promise you, John Sumrall and everyone in Tulane, I love New Orleans. I can't wait to get back down to New Orleans for the Manning Passing Academy. We'll stay there this summer. I love the city. I love the food. I love a lot of stuff about New Orleans. I have one of my best friends in the world went to Tulane. I visited, so many positive things about Tulane. They just don't belong. And now there's a rematch too in a game where they lost 45-10 earlier this year. And James Madison is in at 12, and they will be facing off against Oregon in the 12 versus 5 matchup.
Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the matchups played a role in the committee taking Miami over Notre Dame? They didn't want a Notre Dame Texas A&M rematch, so they put Miami in there.
No. Because honestly, if they were concerned about that, they would have found a way to not get Ole Miss Tulane, because that's a
I think you're handcuffed there by the structure of the system. You didn't really have a choice there. Tulane was going to be the 11th seed because they were the next highest ranked champion.
so here. I mean, I know Tucker's working on the brackets and the top 12, and we'll get the graphics up in a little bit, and we'll start to discuss. I'm just sending out a. All right. So several surprises. The first of which was Georgia at 3 versus 2, and Ohio State only moving down 1 spot. Doesn't necessarily affect. It's not the level of surprise that we just had. Honestly, one of the most shocking. This goes down as one of, if not the most shocking, based on the intel I was getting. And I think the direction most people in the sport saw this heading. Okay, this is arguably the most, if it's not the most, it's top 2 or 3 surprising results of a college football playoff selection Sunday reveal. And that is that Alabama, after that loss last night, stays at 9, which opened the door for Miami and Notre Dame being ranked back to back, and gave the committee an opportunity to say the rankings, like the FPI is very close. The strength of schedule is very close. All these different metrics are very close. The strength of record, which I think of all the different metrics and analytics and numbers that get put into all this stuff, strength of record is absolutely the most critical one because it assesses your strength of schedule with what you did against that strength of schedule. And like, what else is there? And while there's an eye test and there's a human element, and if people like watch tape like we do and watch the games and understand the flow of a season and where, like, there's all those things to take into account. But the strength of record truly gives you an all-encompassing look at what, where does this program belong from the metrics. And Miami was 14th in strength of record. Notre Dame was 13. They're back to back. And you say, well, then go with Notre Dame. And the counter is very obvious, and it's a heavier punch. But Miami beat Notre Dame. And that's why we are where we are.
Yeah.
I'm curious what everyone on the I mean, there's so much to get to. I'm curious what everyone in the chat is saying. Like, what's the instant reaction? It's shock for me.
Right.
I don't think they got it wrong. I don't think there was, as I started the show with, there was no wrong answer, because you could make an argument Notre Dame is a better team now. Notre Dame finished the season stronger. You could make the argument that they're so similarly matched, and the head-to-head goes to Miami, so Miami deserves to be in. You can go back and forth on all of these. The surprising thing for me, though, was that the committee didn't ding. And I told you last night, there's a precedent that has been set for conference. We have to have. Alabama played in its conference championship game. And I'm not saying those 10 players weren't injured. But Alabama, based off of all the information, being told you have a 97% chance to get into the college football playoff, looked at it and said, you know what? We're getting in and we're not getting a bye. And so we better be healthy. In fact, they don't even get a home game, right? They don't get a home game. So when we go on the road, I wish the bracket was up. I need to pull that up. When we go on the road to play our first game, we got to be healthy. And so if 6 or 7 of those 10 guys, if it was the last game of the year,
it's Oklahoma.
Yeah, we got to be healthy for Oklahoma. We got to be healthy for Oklahoma. Here's the bracket, so I have it. And so they sat 10 players, all of which had injuries. They didn't just decide to not show up, but maybe some of them could have played. And they did that based off the knowledge that 97% chance we're in. They didn't think that they were going to lose 28-7 and have it that lopsided against a team that they already beat on the road, true home game for Georgia. But it got dicey. But the College Football Playoff Committee stayed true to, we're not going to ruin a season for a program that's in a college football, because it makes sense, because from that same conference, Ole Miss didn't play in the conference championship game, so they get to sit back and not. Why is Alabama getting dinged for
They shouldn't be. They should be. By the way,
and A&M and Oklahoma, right? And by the way, the one other thing real quickly, and take it where you want. So that's, you've got obviously Georgia, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama. We said all along, this is as good an SEC as we've seen in a little while. It wasn't nearly to the level it was a year ago. South Carolina had a really good year, could deserve to be in, and Ole Miss had a really good year. There's arguments to be made that those programs should have been in, but it's not like this year. This year, 5 deserve to be in, and quite honestly, if you get rid of the JMU and Tulane element of it, like I said, like Texas could belong in, or 16 team playoff. So this conference was loaded this year, and it deserves 5, the most of any conference by a significant number. I think the second most would be the Big Ten with 3, correct? It's Ohio State, right, Indiana, and Oregon. So where do you want to go from here, buddy? The brackets. Go ahead.
We'll get into Miami and Notre Dame in a second. I'm a little fired up about that one, because I just feel like I'll say it now. I just feel like the people who were pro Miami made this seem like it was a no-brainer. And to me, I think there may have been mitigating circumstances, including the fact that there was no ACC teams in there, and maybe there's pressure to get an ACC team in there. This saves the ACC's ass by getting Miami in there. I mean, really, it saves them. I also think that maybe the rematch played a role. We don't want another rematch of Notre Dame at Texas A&M. I would say I went through, this is what I was looking at this morning. I think Miami is good enough to be in the playoff. They could make a run. I understand that they played in Miami one head-to-head, and I think that does make a difference. I think that's something that you favor with Miami when you're comparing these teams. I do. It wasn't enough for me. It was a 3-point win at home for Miami. And you could say, well, they dominated in this, they dominated the trenches up front in August in Miami. Yeah, sure they did. You can say that. That's fine. But it was a 3-point game at the end of the day, and that was it. And then Notre Dame played Texas A&M the next week and lost by 1, another playoff team. What did Miami do? They lost to SMU and they lost to Louisville, and I'm sorry. And don't give me this thing about common opponents, and Miami won by a bigger margin against whoever it was. It was, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt is, I think, they're whatever the common opponents were. They all won by 3 scores. It wasn't like this was a big difference where Notre Dame was struggling with these teams and Miami blew them out. That's not really what happened here. So that's not really a data point I care about. I also know that Notre Dame beat a Navy team that beat South Florida and beat them 49-10. There's other things in here. I also know that Notre Dame beat USC by 10, and that's a pretty good win. And I'm looking at that Miami team, and I'm like, I don't know, like it was a little too up and down for me. And then you guys finished with a weak schedule at the end, and all of a sudden you're back in the mix. And I don't understand the rankings. I don't understand why. How did Notre Dame get leapfrog from last week? What changed? Not a damn thing. Not a thing for them. So if you had put Miami ahead of Notre Dame, I would have been like, okay, I get it. That's cool. Like, I understand that that's what they're thinking. But you had Notre Dame ahead of Miami coming into this week. Neither one's in a conference championship game. So what has changed? What made you now, because you have Alabama moved up again? I don't even understand. Like, I don't understand how in the world that you could put them ahead of them with last week you had Notre Dame ahead of Miami. It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, I think that Miami team's really good. I think it's close. I just had Notre Dame. And no one wants to say this, and I am sure I'm going to catch shit for it, and I don't care. Texas A&M was 4th and goal from the 10-yard line, and their offensive lineman tackled a defensive tackle from Notre Dame. They didn't call it, and Notre Dame lost that game. There's so many things, there's so many factors other than all I kept hearing is head to head has to matter. Head to head has to matter. I agree. Head to head does have to matter. It doesn't have to be the only thing that decides something, especially when that game happened in August and Notre Dame hasn't lost a game since September 13th. To me, they had done enough. That doesn't mean I don't like Miami. It doesn't mean that I don't think Miami's a good team. It doesn't mean that I don't recognize that Miami beat Notre Dame head to head. It's just you have to look at all of these circumstances and factors, and that's it. I just think they got it wrong at the end of the day.
I do too. No, I shouldn't say it. I get that argument is what I want to say. I really do. I can't get over Tulane and JMU. I just can't.
You're right. That's the bigger problem.
And I'm here for your argument because it is the biggest discussion. But it's also, it feels like a suckers. It feels like we're all suckers. If we're sitting here and we're bitching and moaning about Miami versus Alabama versus Notre Dame, they all should be in. Notre Dame should be in.
And it goes back to, I'll say this, it goes back to another point.
Tulane
about me being pissed at the ACC. How do you not have that Miami team playing for the ACC championship last night? Miami wins that ACC championship. They're in, and Notre Dame's in. How does the ACC get away with that tiebreaker that makes no sense to me? That somehow favors Duke over Miami. I don't explain it to me. I don't get it. If Miami beats Virginia last night, we're having like Notre Dame and Miami are both in. Not a problem. It makes no sense to me.
And again, I love John Sumrall and I love Bob Chesney. But Tulane lost 2 games, man. They lost 45-10 to Ole Miss, and they also lost to UTSA. They lost to UTSA, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. Yeah, here we go. They lost to UTSA. It wasn't close. 48-26. What are we doing? And I know I got to move on. I understand that because now we have a bracket and we wanted to talk about the bracket. But I just want people to understand that this, while we patched the wing last year with the seedings, and I think the committee did some good things with how I actually
you'll see it in round 2.
I respect this committee. I know. Give me a minute. I respect this committee working within the confines of the structure. But we patched the wing, and the wing's ready to fly. And you feel good about it taking off into this year. But we forgot that the engine is at a critical state. And we didn't, or you know what? We didn't forget. We didn't have the foresight to realize that the engine has been flying to the desert back and forth and has collected a lot of sand in it. So maybe we should get ahead of some of the problems that could arise instead of having some problems that arise when we're literally 40,000 feet in the air in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Because here we are.
It makes sense, man.
There's no going back to land in California. There's no going back to land in Asia. We're too far out in the middle of the Pacific.
Right.
So we're stuck. And we're stuck with Tulane, a 2-loss team that lost 45-10 and has a rematch with Ole Miss and lost 48 to 26 to UTSA. What are you on about?
Do you see the spreads they just gave us?
This is my problem. Oregon is favored by Thank you.
Tucker, do we really need to get him fired up any more than he already is?
Oregon is favored by 21.5, and they should be over JMU. Ole Miss is only favored by 17.5 versus Tulane. But we're all going to sit here and complain on Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
About the committee got it wrong because Notre Dame should be in. Why is Alabama still in? We're arguing and yelling about the wrong thing. But it's too late.
You're right. You are 100% right.
Now we can move forward. I got it all off my chest.
Someone in the chat just asked me how many stars would I give the committee? Really? Honestly, based on you're framing it really well, probably 4.5. They did the right thing with the SEC teams. They did the right thing by keeping Alabama in. And I think Miami versus Notre Dame is a very difficult decision. I can recognize that and still think that they got it wrong and think it should be Notre Dame. I'm not sitting here being like, they didn't take some team out of nowhere, out of the wilderness, out of the forest, like that Miami has no business being in there. That's not the case. I think they had a very difficult decision to make between two teams. I think they got it wrong, but it's not egregious what they did. I understand it. I can understand the logic of the argument for Miami, and that's fine. I just think that there should be an argument made for Notre Dame, and it should have been Notre Dame.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Dan just let me know. They have not yet released, and I think they're getting ready to first team out Notre Dame, second team out BYU.
Right.
Ahead of Texas. It doesn't matter at this point, but
no.
But I actually have a problem with that. BYU in that schedule.
I love it.
Ahead of Texas.
I love it.
Ahead of Texas. Yes, they lost to Florida, but they also lost to the number 2 team in the country early in the season. And they beat 3 top 10 teams, and they did it late in the season when they started to really tick. So if we're trying to get the best 12 teams in at this point for the college football playoff, Dan and Tucker will work behind the scenes to create a graphic where we can go through the top 14, top 15, and have that discussion later. But honestly, right now, this is about what are we looking at? What's college football like for the next month or so? And college football kicks back. The college football playoff starts up on December 19th and December 20th with these 4 matchups. So let's throw out the bracket right now, Tucker. And there we go. So JMU, the 12 versus the 5. The winner plays Texas Tech. Fascinating. Dante Moore versus that defensive front. Sign me up. Yep. Alabama then in the second seeding. Alabama, Oklahoma. 9 versus 8, respectively. Then the winner of that goes to play Indiana. I'm here for that, man. And we'll talk about Alabama, Oklahoma, and that matchup in a little bit. Then the third bracket, if you will. Tulane, Ole Miss, a rematch, 45-10. I'll keep reminding everyone. When Ole Miss wins that game, we have an awesome round 2 game in the quarterfinals, which Muench kindly told me December 31st or January 1st. I believe that will be January 1st. I can't wait. And by the way, we're doing reaction shows. We'll give you the schedule for that, but everyone in the chat will be a part of it. We're going to break into those games, and we're going to have a lot of fun throughout the 4 rounds of the college football playoff. Okay. And then the winner of that game, as I said, plays Georgia. It will be Alabama versus Georgia, December 31st or January 1st. I believe it will be January 1st. It will be
Ole Miss versus Georgia, right?
Is that what I said or no?
You said Alabama, but that's all right.
Sorry. Yes. Ole Miss, the 6th seed. When they
what a rematch Tulane, that would be.
Will be an awesome rematch, right? And, and again, I think it's important to note, I already said it, but I want to say it again. To give Charlie Weiss Jr. and to give Pete Golding, the new head coach and permanent head coach at Ole Miss, the opportunity to go to have a game against Tulane, against an opponent they already blasted, to give them a chance to work the mechanics, being on the headsets, making 4th down decisions, halftime adjustments. It's big. It's better for Ole Miss. They didn't earn a bye. But
I agree with you, man.
You would prefer, if you're Pete Golding and Charlie Weiss Jr., to have that game against Tulane, excuse me, than to have a week off, an extra week off and a bye week.
I agree.
And then finally, the graphics are even better. Nice job. And then Miami versus Texas A&M is the final matchup. I'm absolutely here for that.
That might be the best game of the first round, to be honest with you. I mean, I know I said what I said about Notre Dame versus Miami, but that's a great game.
Yeah, Alabama, Oklahoma, because of Alabama doesn't have a run game against that pass rush for Oklahoma. And
neither is Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, I know, but the defensive element to that game, but a clear advantage at quarterback. But then again, where's John Mateer now that he's had a few extra weeks to get that thumb and to kind of regroup from what a season that was just like overwhelming due to circumstances that no one could have ever predicted with the thumb surgery and everything like that. But then Miami A&M, yes, that's December 20th at noon Eastern time. on ESPN and ABC in College Station. That's the other thing. Oregon, James Madison's in Eugene on December 20th. Night game, TNT and HBO Max. Alabama, Oklahoma is on December 19th. So there's only one game on the 19th. That's Alabama, Oklahoma. That's an 8 p.m. primetime game on ESPN and ABC in Norman.
That's
brutal
interesting.
place to play now. I mean, it's always been tough, but that place has gotten like, remember the Michigan game and the scene there? So Alabama's got to go to Norman on December 19th. Then we have 3 games on the 20th, okay? Starting at noon Eastern time. I assume the 20th is a Saturday. I don't have a calendar in front of me. Noon Eastern time, you've got number 10 seeded Miami.
It is Saturday.
Texas A&M in College Station. I'll be honest with you.
How is that not the night game?
Thank you.
How is that not the night game?
Thank you. Because of the rankings. Because the highest seed gets the best slots. That's exactly
we got to fix that. It should be the better matchups.
And then Ole Miss Tulane is at 3:30 that afternoon on TNT and HBO Max. Okay, in Oxford, Mississippi, and then that night, as I said, Oregon 5 seed versus 12 seed JMU 7:30 on TNT and HBO Max. Whew. Tucker's saying that we should go live early that day. What, on the 20th?
Yeah, after that Miami Texas A&M game, if not after. Yeah,
after Miami. Yeah, we'll go live after that game and then maybe do a wrap-up show after at the end. We'll figure it out. We'll let everybody know. But this is awesome. Our chat is exploding. Canes fans are pumped. Notre Dame fan. If you're a Notre Dame fan, I want to hear from you right now. Like what is HBO Max, Godden. It's the new world we live in. By the way, Netflix with
it's wild. Yeah,
you're going to be. All of a sudden, you went from just a Spotify star and budding star mensch to Netflix and HBO. I hope your family's ready to deal with that ego.
Do we get some kind of do we get some kind of role in a Game of Thrones spinoff or something? Does that work?
Let's get on it. So those are the matchups. Of those matchups.
God, Notre Dame fan, not surprised, by the way. Okay, sorry.
No. Sure. Yeah, but I want to say this. So we gave you the odds, the FanDuel odds, and we thank you, FanDuel, for all the support, the partnership, and everything that you do. And if you don't have the FanDuel app, what are you doing? Honestly, even if you just make a couple plays here and there, it's just the resource that it is. But to have these odds already up is amazing. We told you already, Oregon than any spread we had last year, right?
I think so. Yeah,
I can go back.
Maybe yeah.
Because what was it? Penn State and Boise
the Arizona State Texas game was a big spread too. I remember,
but I don't think it was 17.
I don't think so either. I don't either.
I really don't. I want to say it was 13 or 14 if I remember, but that was a long time ago. But important to this now. Now we're talking about the big time matchups, the 2 big time matchups on the 19th and 20th. On the 19th is Alabama, Oklahoma. I know you already know the answer. That's December 19th, 8 p.m. ESPN ABC. Alabama is favored at Norman by 1.5 points. Which is interesting, right?
It is.
And I do want to make this point because FanDuel, and I talked about the partnership and they go above and beyond to help us. And we didn't get to this in the moment, but now that we're looking at those odds for those games, I do want to state this. FanDuel, when Tucker asked our folks at FanDuel, can you give us the hypothetical, the Todd's odds? Here he goes again, on a neutral site, Miami versus Alabama, Alabama's favored by 1.5 over Miami. This is why it's interesting, okay? Mm-hmm. The other one we asked for was, what about if Alabama favored versus Notre Dame? Notre Dame was a 4-point favorite over Bama. And now Notre Dame's on the outside looking in, even though, and again, FanDuel's a very successful company, and they, you know, no one's perfect, and lines are, and there's, you know, and there's upsets and all this. But if you really study the history of it, there's nowhere that's more accurate than when you get these odds.
I love that it backs up what I'm saying, but it can't factor in. You can't. That's
no,
a
I
slippery slope.
understand that.
Yeah.
I totally understand. And now if you're watching on they're going through all the top 25 rankings. JMU is ranked 24th, Steve. 24th.
I don't know.
We have a problem. And it really is unfortunate that we didn't foresee this as a potential problem, because I don't spend it like when the college football playoffs over, we get into the draft and we're 24/7 like consumed with it. And then we're peeking back in, checking in on meetings and recruiting and portal and all that stuff. But like we are immersed in it. But there are people who are in positions of power that are looking at this the entire year round, and they didn't foresee this. And that to me is, well, in a multi-billion-dollar industry, did not foresee this glitch. How do you not foresee this glitch?
I'll say this, and forgive me for not knowing exactly what the dates are, but they did move back their annual meeting to go over the rules from, I think, December until early January, which I think is good because it lets them go through another cycle before they start to apply changes. So hopefully that's something that helps them.
All right. So I mentioned Alabama's a 1.5 point favorite at Oklahoma. We'll get to that in a second. Miami versus A&M. Miami A&M.
I love this matchup.
A&M's a 3.5 point favorite. Remember, at home.
Right.
I'm actually surprised they're not a little bit more of a favorite, to be honest.
I don't know, man. That the way that Miami can run the ball, they haven't always run the ball, but that offensive line, I think that's a great matchup for Miami, I think.
Carson Beck under pressure is going to be the story of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the defensive front for Miami, the physicality, the pass rush ability, Messidor opposite, Ruben Bain, Akeem Messidor and Ruben Bain, both first rounders, I believe, when it's all said and done. At this point, I think Messidor's tracking worst case top 50, but I in talking to Scout, like I really think that he's going to. So you get two first rounders along that defensive line that both play a physical brand. Messidor's a better pass rusher. Bain's a better all-around player. Both outstanding players in their own right. To bottle up Marcel Reed and really force him to be a pocket passer and to do it under some duress where his feet get a little wild. And we saw in the first half against South Carolina and in their loss to Texas, when he gets jumpy and overly caffeinated, as I like to talk about it, inside the pocket, and his feet are never really perfectly right to begin with, no matter what the pressure, but when pressure starts to happen and he can't bail out, that's when he gets into trouble. Now, on the opposite side, Carson Beck, while a little bit more mobile this year and seems to be a little lighter on his feet, is not a mobile quarterback. And Texas A&M with Cassius Howell and that defensive front and the way they dial up pressures and some of the things they do in the back end, where if they're tackling well, they can be really successful. But I think you can get at Texas's secondary if you can protect. And if Beck is protected with Malachi Toney reemerging from the witness protection program that he entered in the middle of the season, that's going to be a fascinating matchup with Lee at the cornerback spot. So there's a lot of matchups, and we have plenty of time to get into the nitty and the gritty. But those storylines of those defensive fronts against those quarterbacks loom large in that huge game. And then let me see the bracket again. So when Miami, this is the best part, man. Starting to project the winner of Miami and Texas A&M on December 20th at noon, which Tucker's now tells us we're going to be doing a show breaking into the end of that game. And at this point, we might as well, every game that's played, we should break in because it's going pretty well.
I think Tucker's point is the James Madison and Tulane games there's not going to be a lot there afterwards.
I totally understand. Miami and A&M winner goes and plays Ohio State. So round 2, we're going to have the Miami A&M winner against Ohio State. And that's going to be pretty awesome. Even more exciting, if I'm just being honest, that's December 31st at 7:30. Even more exciting is Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin against Georgia, 6-3, when Ole Miss beats Tulane. Then I think maybe the most fascinating, because you finally get to this. This is what everyone's been waiting for. You are going to have a round 2. If Texas A&M wins at home, as they're favored to do, you are going to have a round 2, sir, that features like Big Ten SEC. For those, we still have a great chat going. Big Ten SEC. How many times a year do we go through that argument? And the Big Ten's reemerging, but the SEC's get back in 2025. All of that. It actually gets decided on the field with top 10 opponents in the most important game of the year. Because you're going to have an SEC team, whether it's 9 Alabama or 8 Oklahoma, in that game on December 19th in Norman. The winner of that goes and plays Indiana. Okay? SEC versus the number 1 team in the country from the Big Ten. And the other one is Miami versus A&M. If A&M, the 7 seed, we just said 3.5-point favorites over Miami playing at home, College Station. If A&M holds serve on that one and goes and plays Ohio State, we've got the number 7 team. A team in Texas A&M that was undefeated the vast majority of the year and was sitting there at number 1 for more than a minute. Not number 1, number 2, I guess.
Yeah.
2 or 3. Yeah. Sorry, with Ohio State. They were in the top 3, but undefeated. One of the 3 remaining undefeateds for a long, long time. Going to play Ohio State. That's going to be awesome to see. And then the final one, obviously, is I mentioned the other 3 matchups. The final one is Oregon going to play Texas Tech with Dante Moore. And hopefully a much healthier wide receiver core. Will Stein is still coaching. He's still coaching. Correct. I just didn't want to say it. And all of a sudden there was breaking news in the last 48 hours or something. Will Stein in his final moments as the offensive coordinator in what's been a brilliant run with from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel to Dante Moore, 3 reclamation projects. Gabriel was bouncing around doing some good things, but wasn't there. Bo Nix was I love it, and I'm happy for him, but a kind of a mess at Auburn. And now he's Dante Moore. Things went so badly, 5 starts at UCLA, transfers, and now he's a first-round draft pick, whether it's 2026 or 2027. But going up against what I told you, it felt like watching an NFL Sunday defensive line against BYU the other day. That those guys are all NFL guys. They just happen to have another month left of college before they start prepping for the NFL draft. So that's going to be awesome. All right, before we wrap, Dan puts us on the spot. Dan wants to know. These are not going to be our final predictions. We need time to sit down, and we've been doing a show this entire time. We didn't know, as 40 minutes ago, we didn't know what the brackets were, how they looked. So let's go on the spot. We don't have to be held to these. We'll come back and do another show where we're projecting all the different things that people want to talk about in the college football playoff. But right now, looking at this thing the way it currently is, and I'm curious, let's put a poll up. Dan, let's get a poll for all the folks that are in the chat right now. Based now off of what we know with these brackets and where the games are played, who do we have? Who do we predict to win let's go national championship game and winner. No, let's make it harder. I want a semifinal answer for all 4 teams. I want the finals, and I want a winner. Let's just do it on the spot. You are absolutely welcome. But for the poll, I think we should just ask for the national championship winner.
Okay. What do you got?
Do you figure out yours?
Yeah.
Okay. You start because I was talking too much as usual, and I want to.
All right. I got the semifinal is the 1 seed Hoosiers versus Oregon, and I got Georgia playing Ohio State in the other one. I think that the seeding holds up in that bracket. And then for the final, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. I got I got Oregon beating Ohio State. I've been high on Oregon all year. I'm not backing down now. Oregon avenges its loss to Indiana earlier this year. It finds a way to beat Ohio State.
So you have okay. I'm going to go from the bottom of the bracket up in the semifinals.
Okay.
I'm going to go Ohio State after a bye and playing Texas A&M Miami winner gets into the semifinals. I'm also going to pick Georgia over Ole Miss. They are rolling right now.
Rolling.
And playing with a lot of confidence and now much more balanced than they have been at any other point during the season. Then, this is the brutal one. I think Alabama is going to get healthy, and I think that they're going to bounce back from this loss in a somewhat, there's going to be a little bit more of a bounce back here than people expect, and not totally dissimilar. With that talent level, those receivers, from what we saw from Ohio State when it looked like it was a lost cause against Michigan a year ago, I'm going to say Alabama beats Indiana. Indiana had too much time off, told how great they are, all the things, fall into some trappings, even though Signetti, you know my level of respect. I picked him over DeBoer and Smart and Ryan Day, and they're the three of the best coaches in the world. Because I had a feeling that he was going to have his team prepared, and he probably will, and I'll probably look like a jackass. But I'm going to say Alabama beats Oklahoma in Norman and then beats Indiana in a big upset and gets in the semifinals. And I'm going to take Oregon as well. Okay. Then I'm going to take Ohio State to beat Georgia, which I don't feel great about. But
No, I don't either. That's a tough one. But I took Ohio State too.
And I'm going to take Alabama over Oregon. And yes, I picked Alabama in the preseason, and yes, to win the national championship. And yes, it is affecting my judgment right now. But I am going to take Ohio State to win it all. Back-to-back champions.
Interesting.
And I don't love it. And when we circle back next week, I'm guessing that maybe that will change.
Can I just say something quickly about that Tech team? Because that defense is as good as any defense in the country. I really believe that. And there's some really good defenses this year. I just think that Oregon defense is going to be that offense for Texas Tech hasn't seen an Oregon defense like they're going to see with Oregon. So that's why I gave Oregon the nod there.
I see that.
I don't want to disrespect Texas Tech, man. They've had a hell of a year. They're a good team.
No, nothing Texas Tech does in the college football playoff, whether it's a second round after a bye, a loss in the first game in the college football playoff, or if it's a winning in the national championship, that would surprise me. Short of winning a national championship, nothing that happens with Texas Tech will surprise me, and that's mostly a positive. I think their offense is not nearly as good as the numbers say it is.
I agree.
But I do think there's talent there, and I think you have the veteran leadership and a smart quarterback in Baron Morton who's been through a lot of wars, and I trust him for the most part. I just don't think that they have the firepower and the consistency against good quality defenses but every time you look up,
there they are.
Because the defense putting the offense in good situations or whatever it is, they're scoring close to 40. Close to or more than. Yeah. But I think Oregon's underrated, and I agree with you on that point. I think Georgia, in my opinion, Georgia's truly capable. I know they're all capable except Tulane. I think Georgia, if I had to make a short list, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, even though most would disagree, Oregon, If you got to pick five, who are the five? Who are the five teams that you think that if you had to put in order, you only got five. It was like an elimination thing. And I said,
Yeah.
you have to bet $1,000 of your money. And I'm going to give you
I think
five
it'd be
teams to pick.
It'd be very similar. It would be Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon out of the Big Ten. And then I would take, who am I missing? Sorry. I would take Alabama too. And so that would be four. Oh, Georgia,
Texas,
Alabama, and Georgia.
So it's the same five. So you agree
it's the same five.
You would take Alabama if I gave you five, and if not, you lose $1,000. If the national championship winner is not from these five, you lose $1,000.
No, I would like that. That's
you would put
I
Alabama in over Texas Tech.
I would, and Oklahoma and Ole Miss. Yes, I would.
Okay.
Because at their worst, it's bad. I get it. I get how bad it is, but we've also seen, and I love how people are, I love how people are like, well, the Alabama over Georgia win was earlier in the season too, but we've seen what Alabama can do.
This has been an awesome show. This has been an awesome run. This last 24 hours has been exactly what we've always wanted this show to be in the college football level, and we haven't even gotten to the draft, and I'm pumped for this run.
How about the chat today on a Sunday afternoon?
I know. It's awesome. Everyone go enjoy some NFL football. It all just started. I'm going to go get some food. I'm starving. I had coffee, no breakfast. I'm starving. I'm excited to sit down, hang out with the family, enjoy some lunch, watch some NFL games.
No show tomorrow.
No show. Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
No show tomorrow. We will be back on Thursday morning with Rough Draft. I don't know. We have honestly every bit of focus was on yesterday's two shows and today and everything going on, and that's awesome. And it's where it should have been. We'll figure out what the hell we're doing the next couple of weeks while we get ready for the college football playoff. And honestly, this gap between today's the 7th, man. We got games on the 19th. It's only 12 days. So we'll do a couple of draft shows. We'll do a couple of preview shows, and then we'll be right back doing live reaction shows and getting ready for this awesome run between December 19th and January. It's 1 month. Was it 31 days or something? 1 month of all these awesome matchups.
Yeah.
Sans Tulane, Ole Miss, and Sans JMU, Oregon. But we're thrilled to make this ride with you, and thank you again. Like the support today in this show has been awesome. We'll be back on Thursday. Mensch, like if I could give you more than 5 stars, I would. But I am limited to 5 stars, and you get it, brother. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.